What is up, everybody? You know who it is. It is your allies behind enemy lines, Ryan and Joey, coming at you with thoroughly behind enemy lines in Cowboys territory, holding it down for all our Washington football team fans. Check us out here on our YouTube, where we are currently live. So if you are watching us, you already know where to find us. But if you're not and you're listening to us on a podcast, you can find us here on YouTube by searching Allies Behind Enemy Lines. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts: Google, Spotify, SoundCloud, forgetting one, Apple iTunes. All by searching Allies Behind Enemy Lines. You can find us on Twitter at AlliesBEL. There you can find all our links for everything I just mentioned. You can also find us on Facebook by searching Allies Behind Enemy Lines podcast. We also got some sweet shirts on sale. Get your Washington football team official podcast. Well, I mean, we're not the official podcast, but I'd like to think we are. But here it is. We are Allies Behind Enemy Lines official shirt, Washington football team podcast. It's heat, makes the pipes look good, makes you feel good. And, buy one for yourself, buy one for your friend, buy one for whoever you may like in your life that is also a Washington football team Washington football. Why is that so hard for me to say today? Washington football team fan. Anyway, Joey, how's it going, bud?
It's going good, bud. It's been a long week. It felt like for some reason. I don't know. I feel like it's been a long time since the last time we've been on. I guess the summer is kind of dragging with this cloudy and rainy weather. It doesn't give you a lot of opportunities to go out there and really enjoy the sun. It kind of just rains for a second down here, and then it's hot for like 5 seconds, and it gets humid as heck. So the weather's been making a very long, weird summer. But I'm doing all right, man. I'm just hanging in there. Had a good fourth, and getting closer and closer to training camp time. It's closer and closer to the football season. So I'm doing all right.
I know that's right. Yeah, we are a couple weeks away from training camp, which again, that means, just like you said, the regular season is on the horizon. You had a couple things for us today, Joey. Why don't you go ahead and take the reins here, and we'll follow your lead.
Well, yeah, it's been a kind of a slow week as we talked about last week. So I mean, so there's not been a lot of stories going on there, and I think a lot of us, as we want to talk about the Washington football team as it is, we definitely, as our intro comes on here, technical difficulties as we try to do these screen changes a little bit, my first time. But yeah, it's been very interesting to see what kind of, oh, look at this. I'm just blowing everything up right now. My bad. Hey, sorry about that, guys. But anyway, it's interesting to see what people have been looking about, what people are thinking about as we get more sounds just kind of coming out of nowhere. But I got it, guys. It's all good. Like I said, long week ever. It's going to be a long show, it feels like. I don't know. But this article came across, and I think JP Finley, our boy, wrote it. Now, you might have seen it. And it's talking about 10 Washington football predictions before training camp begins. And that's kind of where we're at right now. I think that we're all stuck right there, kind of what was going on. We're all in speculation season as it gets even closer and closer to training camp. And I wanted to just kind of go over some of these things that he has, and then kind of open up a discussion and see what we can think about them. So I don't know if you've seen this at all, or think that that you would benefit from knowing these as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, but here we go. So Ryan Fitzpatrick is the starter unquestionably for week 1.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think he is coming in as a starter. I think if Heineke closes the gap on him during training camp, we won't see that come to fruition until later in the season. Maybe not even if he starts playing poorly. Maybe if we see, kind of a same situation we saw last year in Miami, where it's like he was playing his best football, arguably, when he got benched for Tua. Now, I think this situation is obviously a little bit different because Taylor Heineke obviously isn't a high draft pick rookie that you put a lot of faith in like they did in Tua and in Miami. But, I won't be surprised if we do see Heineke at some point, but I do think unquestionably Fitzpatrick is the starter for week 1.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, I think that, it's funny we're talking about this because as I was watching NFL Network, I always have it on in the background, muted most of the time, especially when there's nothing really going on but old football games and replays. But a replay they were playing actually today was the Giants and Tampa Bay from Week 11, 2018. And that's when Fitzpatrick was the starter there in Tampa Bay. And he was playing against the Giants. And just watching him again just really reminded me how many chances he takes and how willing he is to press the ball downfield. I remember a pass he completed over the middle, like down to the 5-yard line to O.J. Howard, where he threw it basically between 5 defenders, 2 that were very close vicinity. And O.J. Howard back shouldered it, threw it up high. OJ Howard went up and grabbed it, and I think that those type of opportunities that Fitzpatrick just reminded me that as much as we love Heineke, Fitzpatrick can bring back those kind of same things, pushing the ball down the field to our team, and that's kind of what we've been looking for. So I think that he's definitely for instances like that, games like that, and for what he's done over his career, I think Fitzpatrick undoubtedly will be the starter week 1.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think he will be.
Yeah. So next one up was
have a drink with a view on our Steins, Vines, and Moonshine Trail.
Oh yeah, we got sponsors just popping in here trying to be sponsored by us. What it is. That's what I think is really going on. But the start is it's this ad page that I have the article on that I'm kind of quoting down, and it just wants to keep playing its videos for me. No matter how many times I mute them. But anyway, the starting O-line. I think we talked about this last week. Charles Leno, Eric Flowers, Chase Rouillet, Brandon Scherp, and Sam Cosmi. That's number 2 on his. So I think we kind of agree right there. I think Madden had the only difference than what we were thinking. I think you might have thought Schweitzer as well. What do you think?
Yeah, I think when we talked about it, I said Schweitzer at left guard and Flowers at right tackle, or excuse me, Cosmi at right tackle. So it looks like here they have they have Flowers at right guard or left guard, and Cosmi at right tackle. I'm fine with that. I think Eric Flowers is a better guard than he is a tackle, so I would prefer seeing him there. That's where he kind of saw some success with Washington a couple years back. So I would that's fine with me. I do want to see Cosmi in there early. I want to see what he can do. I want to see if this is a guy that can play at the NFL level. So yeah, like I said, Eric Flowers and Schweitzer there at the left guard position. They're interchangeable there for me. Just as long, I just really don't want to see Eric Flowers on the outside as a tackle. That's really the biggest thing for me.
Well, I can see why, because that's definitely we ate him up. I think even when he was in New York as well there. But I think that that we whoever fights it out there for whoever they see, we definitely got to trust the judgment there of who they're going to put in the line. But I think that we got the right players out there. I think Schweitzer's someone that can back up anybody there. I think that's kind of what they're looking at him as. And Cosmi might the only drawback there to see if he might not be ready. If he's not ready, then obviously I think he'll be worked in there eventually. That could probably be the offensive line at the end of the year. Definitely could be this, barring any injuries. But I think that Cosmi, the only thing that might inhibit him or prohibit him from starting would be that inexperience and not being able to be just ready yet. So I guess preseason will be the tale of that story.
Yeah. No,
so,
yeah, for sure.
Let's see if we can jump on this without getting the next ad, which I bet you we're going to.
Or devour something new.
and just like that, we didn't even. You tried. We didn't even know what your product is. Just some weird dude talking. Anyway, so new deal for John Allen yet, and the clock is ticking, and so the price is going to increase this year. So I'm not sure how close it is and how long the talks have been. So what we thinking on that? What's your thoughts on the deal for our boy John Allen?
Oh, well, first and foremost, that deal's definitely obviously got to get done. I don't know how close they are necessarily. I think he's probably going to be looking for top defensive tackle money, which, I think he deserves. And I would be willing to pay him, but this is going to be the issue coming up because we're going to have to pay him. We're going to have to pay Deron Payne. We're going to have to pay, there's a lot of guys that were the building blocks of this defense that we are going to have to start paying here pretty soon. And, depending on how the cap goes, which I think it will go up because there is a new TV deal coming down the line. Obviously, the cap will go up. They always say that the cap's going to go up. So there are quite a few guys that are going to be up for a new contract that I feel like we need to pay because they are going to get that money elsewhere. And Jonathan Allen, I think, is the starting, the kind of the starting guy for that. And I think we got to get him done. I'd have to look at what the top defensive tackle salaries are right now. But I think he deserves to be definitely top 5, top 7 paid guys.
Well, definitely based upon what the expectation is going to be and what he's done there. I don't think there's been any question that he was a bad pick. I don't think anyone would even challenge what he's done, the production wise on the field, much less the character and the attitude he has in the locker room, the leadership role he's taken on our team. So I think you can't put a price tag on a lot of those things. I think he's one of those pillars that so many teams talk about that you want to build your team upon and structure your team around. So I definitely think he's gonna definitely, if they don't get this deal done before training camp, that price tag is gonna be top 5, top 3. you know, if not the highest paid tackle in the year after the year that this defense is going to have. So,
Yeah.
so
Absolutely.
Number 4,
and especially if he's not to interrupt you, but just before we move on, you know, we talk about how Chase Young's like an emotional leader of this team, and you know, obviously we're going to be seeing Kendall Fuller kind of be that leader in the secondary. But I mean, Jonathan Allen kind of leads the team by example, right? I mean, he's the guy that kind of like, I feel like he's a big time tone setter. Like if he's getting after it, he can clog the hole, stop the run. You know, he's not going to always benefit and he's not going to have a ton of sack numbers, but he clogs that hole up the middle and can really set the tone early and can really bring that physicality that sets the tone that way. That isn't outwardly and emotionally, but it's just more so physically in the way he's playing the game. So again, I think he's a guy that definitely needs to be paid and needs to stick around for the burgundy and gold for a long time to come.
Yeah, I mean, we've never talked, and all the deals, all these hypotheticals we've talked about when we're trying to bring in quarterbacks or all these players, and Jonathan Allen was one of those people we never wanted to just casually throw in there and want to trade off, because we definitely both believe that he's definitely a part of this future and this present team. So number 4 on this list is talking about Landon Collins, and what it says about Landon Collins is that he opens training camp on the PUP list, the physically unable to perform, which gives us more flexibility, and it gives him more time to rehab the Achilles, and possibly pushes him out to that trade deadline, in October. That's what I'm thinking, if that's the case there. So what do you think about that?
Like I said, I mean, there's not a whole lot that we haven't said about Landon Collins that isn't going to be repeated here. I think he needs to be on the roster to start off with at the beginning of the season. Putting him on the PUP list. I think if at this point, because he's participating fine in OTAs and things like that. So sure, it gives them a little bit of roster flexibility, but do we really need that for that spot, right? You know what I mean? I know we've talked about how many wide receivers we're going to bring on, how many tight ends are we going to keep, how many quarterbacks are we going to keep, how many running backs are we going to keep. So it's, even if we put him on the PUP list to start the season, it's not going to be to bolster that secondary. It's not going to be to help the defense. It's going to probably be to carry an extra body on the offense, which is ultimately just going to be a special teams player. So sure, it gives you the roster flexibility, but for what? Like why? You know what I mean? I don't know that it necessarily is going to be beneficial to the team or beneficial to what we're doing and what Landon Collins' position is with the team and on the field.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we both, it's hard for us to place him in there, and I think that, our boy JP's having a hard time too, and so it's and what they've seen so far is nothing above, cut above the rest as far as leadership, as far as performance, as far as training camp. So it's leading to believe that there's still question marks around him, and that's basically that's all. I think that is just an option. I don't see that happening, obviously, unless there's some kind of setback that we don't know about that hasn't been reported. So I think that he will start, and I think that it's something that if he doesn't perform, I still see him. I talked about last year, before he got injured, and and that he was probably going to be on the bubble person for that on that trade, and I think that that's still going to be an option this year. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly what his role ends up being with our defense and how he kind of fits in as we get closer and closer to training camp here.
100%.
But number 5 here. And that's another safety your favorite safety, I believe, in the history of Washington football, Troy Apke. Whether he will or will not make the roster here in Washington. And so, what do you say about that?
Good. Yeah. Deuces. See ya. I mean, all we really ever see when you're on the field is the back of your jersey, and so I won't mind seeing the back of your jersey as you walk out the locker room and go find somewhere else to play. It's as simple as that. With as good as this safety room is, there's literally no way this guy can make the team. As deep as that safety room is, throw Landon Collins in there. Again, if you keep Landon Collins, or if you put Landon Collins on the PUP list, is it to keep Troy Apke around? Better not be, because like I said, there's far better players to keep around that can help this team, even if it isn't offensively or defensively, and it'd be on special teams. So Go ahead.
No, well, all I was gonna say is, it's one of those things like last week when we talked about the running back rooms. You got to think about a lot of the people around him. You know, I mean, so if he is on the roster, who is not on the roster, and that safety room is already crowded. That's before we even talk about what he does wrong. Can he even hang with these guys we're talking about? We just talked about one Landon Collins. We're talking about Jeremy Reeves and Cameron Curl, who had great seasons last year. We're talking about the rookie Forrest who came in. We're talking about what's not Clinton Dunbar. What's the other better? DeShazer Everett. So I mean, which one of those spots is he going to take away if he stays on the team? And I don't think DeShazer Everett might be arguably the only one he has the opportunity to. And I think DeShazer Everett plays better on the field. I think Apke's a better special teams player, obviously, than Everett. But I think that Everett's a better on the field defensive player. And then we heard about him getting snaps at cornerback, and JP Finley talks about can he crack that cornerback room? And you argue again. We have Kendall Fuller, we have William Jackson, we have St. Just. Moreland is probably going to be that number 4 there, and then you throw in a bunch of other guys there. Can he knock out one of those guys as a possible 5th corner on the team? Though maybe his special teams contributions gets him a spot in that room. Remains to be seen, but
wait, run through those cornerbacks again that you said.
We're talking about the first 3, obviously Fuller, Jackson, St. Just. Jimmy Moreland's going to be number 4, probably. Yeah. I mean, then you have what was it? Stroman, Danny Johnson. Probably the only 2 other ones that have a name that have experience. So he'd be fighting for that 5th spot against one of those 2 guys and a bunch of other unknown guys. So,
yeah, 100%. No.
So I don't know. What do you think? You have a chance of even cracking one of those groups?
He shouldn't. He absolutely shouldn't. I mean, yeah, no, he shouldn't. I'm good. I'm all set. I'm all set on Apke. I'm good.
So we've been ready to move on from him for a while. Madden people again. We'll be sad to see him go, but he might. Who knows? Who knows what happens between now and then? Who knows? Maybe he plays corner better than they've talked about. So. Number 6 is the Wilkinson investigation. We touched on this a lot last week. I think we both we'll just we'll have little to talk about it once the season starts. I think it's one of those things that's kind of like over and done with now, as long as nothing else moves on. So we can move past that one unless you have anything to add to that.
No.
J.D. McKissick and number 7 is J.D. McKissick and Logan Thomas will have notably less targets. I think we alluded to that last year, or last week, or the week before. I don't forget which one it was when we talked about the quarterback change, but. I think that we both are in agreement that that's probably the case, or we want it to be the case because that means we're pushing the ball downfield.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think McKissick's targets go down again, mostly because of the quarterback that we do have, and he'd rather force the ball down the field than get the check down. And also, I think some of McKissick's targets are going to get cut because we're going to see Antonio Gibson in that 3rd down passing role a little bit more. I think he's going to become more of a complete back, running and catching the ball. And Logan Thomas, I think his targets go down just because of how many weapons there are around him. Not any fault of his own, but now there's so many more people to spread the ball around too. I think his targets now, rather than quantity, they're going to be quality. He's going to get some big time catches. He's going to get some catches down the middle of the field. I think. Short first down, or second and short, 3rd and short, that he's going to be able to leak out. And while, we're pushing the ball down the field with the other wide receivers, he's going to be able to, lock up the short yardage first down, things like that. So I don't necessarily think that Logan Thomas's targets going down is going to be a bad thing, because I think they're going to be more quality targets, maybe red zone targets. Like I said, the 2nd and short, 3rd and short, and big plays down the middle of the field. But again, over to McKissick, I think it gets reduced because of Fitzpatrick's willingness and wants to drive the ball down the field, and then Antonio Gibson becoming that more complete back completely. And again, no fault of JT McKissick. I mean, I think only Alvin Kamara had more targets than him last season. I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, Kamara's one of the premier backs in the league, top 3, top 5, and so I think that's kind of where that's headed for these 2 players. Yeah,
I tend to agree, and again, we will both want that, and better quality targets. How many, what's their average? We don't talk a lot about their average yards per catch, especially from McKissick. But we want more quality targets for these guys, and I think that quarterbacks like Heineke and Fitzpatrick are more like, and I think those guys were serving. When I say those guys, I mean Logan Thomas and McKissick were serving more as check down guys, and I think that if the ball's going where it's supposed to be going, it's not supposed to be going to the check down guys as much. It's supposed to be going to the your premier players at the time, and I think that leads us into the next spot anyway as well. For 7, 8, and 9, they're all kind of interchangeable as you talk about them, because we want the targets to be more towards Curtis Samuel. We want the targets to be more towards Terry McLaurin. We want to have more of our our playmakers to have the not to say they're not playmakers, but our big playmakers to have the ball in their hands. So we know that Terry McLaurin had 134 targets last year according to this article, and that's the next closest was Cam Sims at 48. So so how is that going to change? As we talk about all these, because there's only so many balls to go around. So if Logan Thomas is getting less targets, J.D. McKissick's getting less targets. We're wanting the targets to be more evened out. So are we going to have over 100 targets apiece for Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin?
I think so. I think we do. I think they both get over 100 targets. I think, I still don't know who's going to be. I don't know if Cam Sims is going to be that number 2 outside wide receiver. I think Curtis Samuel is going to be more the slot guy. But I think when we do go 2 wide receiver set, I think it is going to be Curtis Samuel on the field opposite Terry McLaurin. So I do think they both get 100 apiece. I think we're going to throw the ball a lot more. But still be a balanced offense. So I won't be surprised if they both get 100. We see Cam Sims probably around that same 50 to 75 mark. I'm really interested to see how they utilize Dimey Brown. I think he probably brings in 30 to 50 targets. So I do think that while, like we talked about, Logan Thomas and McKissick's targets are going down, those will be going to Curtis Samuel. And I think we see Terry McLaurin's targets come down a little bit because, again, there's going to be kind of more wealth to go around for everybody. Everybody eats, and which necessarily isn't going to be a bad thing, I don't think. As long as those targets that were, and this is obviously, you can't quantify this in any way, but if I could say, hey, instead of Terry McLaurin having 134 targets, maybe he has like 115, and those extra, whatever, that 20 targets, those are specifically going to this one guy. Obviously you can't quantify that or know how that's going to happen, but if it could, that's how I'd want it to be. You know what I mean? I don't want his 20 targets now going to, Samus Reyes, no disrespect or anything like that. I want, like you said, those targets need to be going to the playmakers, the big time guys, the guys that you're paying to make those plays, and the guy that you're expecting to make those plays. And so if that's how it works out, then I will be a happy camper.
Yeah, I agree there. I think that we need to get those guys to have, those guys are, especially with the average yards per catch. Those guys they have the ball in their hands. Exciting things are going to happen. And just one note there that a person he agreed, that both those guys would get over 100. And I say those guys, I say Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin. Pronouns, pal. I don't even know those are pronouns. But also Adam Humphries. He had having over 60 targets. So I think he thinks that Curtis Samuel is going to be that outside guy, and that Adam Humphries is going to be more of that slot guy. So maybe that's what they're and you know what, he was there for all the the formations and what. So maybe that's what they're starting off with. So maybe that's kind of the role that we have there. And who knows where Cam Sims. We know that Cam Sims is going to go in there. He had one of the best quotes. I think they were talking about. I don't know where I read it, but I just know he's the one that said it. Talking about it's not about ever making, it's about every time you do good, all you're earning is another opportunity, and that's the way to especially with someone like that or in any competitive sport, always that's it. Nothing's guaranteed. You go out there and you give your best, like it's your last day, your last chance every single time if you're going to be successful. So he's someone you want on your team. So that was number 9. So for number 10, we're going to go. His last thing he says here in this article is expect Chase Young to have double-digit sacks. He finished 2020 with 7.5 and a number of near misses. Obviously, we saw him all over the place like a crazed animal. He could double that total or come close this fall. So that he's saying 15. He's saying double-digit easy, maybe up to 15 sacks. What do you think about that?
I think 20. 20 sacks.
20
17
sacks?
games. 20 sacks in 17 games. He gets the extra game now.
I mean, we're talking about, though, once he gets 5 or 6 within the first 3 to 4 games, or whatever we're thinking, he's going to be getting that kind of blocking on him that's going to open up Montez Sweat. You might remember, there's a lot of hungry piranhas in this little lake called the NFL right now, and we have a lot of those hungry piranhas on our team, and so they all need to eat, and they're all going to be trying to chase that quarterback down. It's going to be a feeding frenzy. So I mean, he might be back there trying to, easily more than 25 times we're hoping in the backfield about to snatch a quarterback. But I think sometimes that Deron Payne, that Matt Ioannidis, Matt Ion the quarterback. I guess we could call I don't know. What kind of nickname we can come up with him. But and that Montez. Don't call me Montez.
Matt on this quarterback.
Matt on the asses. And I mean, we're not talking about females or any kind of Me Too stuff. We're talking about quarterbacks' asses, and not asses. And in a way of him wanting to sack them, not to have any kind of relations with them. So want to get.
Thanks for clarifying. We weren't quite sure. We appreciate it.
I have to, in this day and age, you have to 100% clarify, because we know one or two of our viewers are going to go and call into whoever they call into, and we'll be done. So Matt Ion the asses, quarterback asses. He's putting parentheses there. But yeah, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are a lot of defensive linemen that they're going to eat, and we don't even know what our boy Davis, if he's going to be wanting to eat some quarterbacks too, or if he's just going to be running around. So we don't know. So if he's getting 15 sacks, that says one thing is that the rest of our team is either injured, or the rest of the team is we're going to have multiple people with double-digit sacks, which is insane to even think of.
Do you know what you probably don't, and not the record for most sacks by a team in a season? I'm gonna look that up. If you can kind of stall a little bit while I do that.
I'm gonna stall. Well, I can remember. The thing is probably gonna be either the Ravens or the Bears, because I don't remember the Seahawks. When you think about the great defenses of the Giants, actually that 86 Giants team had a ton. So the 85 Bears, 86 Giants, 2000 Ravens, I think will be probably one of those three. Because I think that the Seahawks, when you think about that 2013 defense, it was more of the Legion of Boom, not really the Legion of Sackers. And you got to also think about those Charles Haley 49er teams and those Cowboy. Those 90s defenses were insane that Charles Haley was on. He was a sacking machine as well. So my guess is, if I had to guess, which is taking a lot longer than I thought it would take you to find these.
Yeah, I know. Shit, tell me about it.
My guess is going to be the 85 Bears, because they were just shutting everybody out. You're not finding it?
So you're close. You're close. No, I got it. You're close. The 84 Bears.
The 84 Bears, really?
They had 72 sacks as a team.
72 sacks. How many did the 85 Bears have?
They had 64. Oh. And actually, the 87 Bears had more sacks. They had 70. They're third all time, with Minnesota in the middle and 89 with 71. So Washington, they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th all time in 84. 84.
That was Dexter Mann, Charles Manley. Those. We have a faster. That's what I think we talked about that at the beginning of the year last year. We were talking about the potential of this, and that's the first comparison I brought up, was those bookend Charles Mann, Dexter Manley. That's the team that I love. That's the team I grew up watching and adoring. Those type of pass rushers. And I think Montez Sweat and Chase Young are the modernized, super athletic freak versions of them two, and hopefully have the sack production career there. But I definitely think that and we could, that's 70 sacks. You think about, take 15 off the board for Chase Young. That's a lot of sacks, man. Think of, geez, that is a lot of sacks. So 17, 16 game seasons at that time. That was 5 a game almost. So that's still a lot, man. Getting 5 a game.
You got to figure too. I think we're gonna have at least another game. We're gonna have at least one game, similar to what we saw week 1, where we had 8 or 9 team sacks against the Eagles. I think we're gonna see at least another game like that this season. So you get one like that, then you scrape across 3 or 4 a game. You're sitting pretty good. Let's say 3.5 sacks per game times 16. That's 56. And then add another 8. That's still only 64. Fuck yeah, that's a shit ton of sacks.
No, it's 5. It's 17. You're gonna need 4 a game of 68. Yeah, you're gonna need 4.5 to 5 a game.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Derek Thomas's record is in jeopardy. I still remember when I was watching football at that time, and I remember the game wasn't on that I was watching. It wasn't on TV as the old time when you had to watch whatever was on NBC at the time, and it just kept flashing every time he had like 3 or after 4. But he had, I think it was 7 sacks he had in that game, but missed. The funniest thing about, I shouldn't say, I don't know if it's kind of is funny or ironic, is that he missed the 8th sack I believe it was David Craig was the quarterback that in overtime he missed it, and Dave Craig threw the touchdown pass to beat him. So they lost that game.
I'm sure that's what he remembers too most about that game, right?
Exactly, because I mean, as athletes, that's what you're going to remember. You're not going to remember, what you should, but it definitely should.
He has the top 2 games. He has the 7-sack game, and then he also had one. So he had a 7-sack game in 1990 against the Seahawks, when you just mentioned, and then 8 years later had a 6-sack game against the Raiders. That's unreal. That is unreal. To put together those 2 games 8 years apart as an NFL player. Unreal. That's awesome.
So rest in peace, my buddy Derek Thomas. I think your record's going to be safe, though. I don't think this defense. Again, with 200, I think nowadays with the blocking schemes and they just I don't think it's going to be hardly possible. You're going to have some guys.
Especially you start adding the tight end in there, the blocking tight end as a 6th blocker. It does become much more difficult. And you could make the argument that it's difficult on the offensive line because of all the different stunts and things that they run now too. But I'm not going to get too cocky and say, Chase Young's going to have a 10-sack game, but I still think 20 in 17 games isn't that unrealistic. But to answer kind of what JP was saying, I do think he can get obviously to that 15 sack mark this season.
Hey, here's a hot take for you. I think Montez Sweat will have more.
Wow. I mean, look, he's coming off the weak side. He's coming off that right side, against the right tackle, and he's, every bit as good as Chase Young. I think we're just enamored with Chase Young because of how freakish he looks and is, and how fast he is, and how how great he was at Ohio State. I think Montez is right there with him.
He's been a sleeper and favorite of ours. My kids have his jerseys for a reason. I've always believed that he's going to be one of those guys that just comes in, and takes that spot. But one more thing.
So I was having this. Oh, go ahead.
No. You're having this what? This is way more.
So I was having this conversation with my buddy that's a Browns fan. Which duo are you taking? Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett, or Chase Young and Montez?
I mean, I don't even know if you can consider Jadeveon Clowney that you're talking about anymore. He hasn't had one of those seasons in a long time. And he only had one. You know what I mean? Like, it's like he had one good year. I mean, he had all the hype. Chase Young is people were saying last year is everything that Jadeveon Clowney was slated to be. And so I think we definitely
Montez Sweat is.
Exactly. I think that both of those guys are better than him. So I think that automatically answers that question.
That was my answer too, because he said Myles Garrett is better than both Chase Young and Montez Sweat. And I said, well, even if that's true, both those guys are better than Jadeveon Clowney. So just by law of averages, they're going to be the better dynamic duo.
We can say so. It's basically going to be even if you do the law of averages, because if you have 1 and 4, you add that together.
1 and 4 and 2 and 3. Yeah.
But I'm going to talk about. I think that you can't. That's just saying that there's 4. You know what I mean? Like that's not showing the difference between 3 and 4. I think the difference between 3 and 4 is more like 4.8, or you know what I mean? Like he's way back.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is like 2.56. It's like 2 point.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there's a giant difference there, partners. But anyway, One last thing I wanted to talk about, as I thought, it's funny. I'm glad I did this. These are two things I came up with yesterday as I was thinking about the show today. I was like, we got to get some, I don't know if Brian's going to be able to find anything,
And I didn't want to go back to the Zach Selby well, because I'm like, at this point, we're just literally ripping that guy's content. And, even though we keep giving him a shout out, because he does fantastic work. You go on WashingtonFootball.com, and it's literally just all his articles. I was like, buddy, I can't just keep ripping this guy's content without having him on for yet. So that's why I was like, yeah, I didn't know what to do.
Well, that's why I was like, I will just rip JP Finley, and we'll take his stuff. But I mean,
we'll flip back and forth. We'll go back and forth.
Yeah. But he, shout out to our boy JP Finley, always holding it down. I definitely like his articles, and this one in particular stood out because it's things that we're all thinking about. It's basically it sums up as we get closer and closer to training camp what we're all thinking, and but one last thing I wanted to get out, that I saw yesterday. This was just on a random, you can't even see it here. I should have put up the graphic up. But it was best odds to win the NFC. So I guess we can do this kind of like question and see who do you think. Obviously, we know who number one is. I don't think I'm gonna have to question who you think number one is.
To win the AFC
NFC.
Or NFC, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, the NFC. Oh, yeah, it's gotta be the Bucks.
Okay, so no argument there. So who would you say? First of all, these are the top 10. So where do you think Washington falls in the top 10?
Top 10 of the NFC, they fall 7.
Okay, all right, we'll hold it there. All right. So number 2, who do you think it is?
NFC. Let's see who's in the West. No, I mean I would say the Packers, but without Aaron Rodgers, you really don't know.
Mm-hmm. So who would you say then?
But yeah. Oh shit. Oh man. The Seahawks.
No. They're on the list. But number 2 is the Rams. The Rams. So I think Matt Stafford.
I was going back and forth. Yeah, I was going back and forth between them and the Seahawks and the 49ers.
All right, so I can agree with that, though. I can see where they're coming from.
Absolutely.
Number 3, then.
Is that the Seahawks?
No.
That is going to be. See, this is the thing, though. I mean, it can't be the Saints. It's not the the Packers.
Nope.
49ers?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Which I to me that's the biggest because they're to me they're still unproven. They're not the 2015 Carolina Panthers or the 2016 Jared Goff or 17 Jared Goff Rams or 2016 Falcons or whatever NFC flavor of the month team there was for the last 8 years. You know what I mean? Like there hasn't been a dominant NFC team. It's been a one flop after the next, the Patriots. But just kidding. But it kind of has been. But
no, it has.
Yeah. So number 4.
Number 4. I'm just gonna keep guessing the Seahawks.
Nope.
The Cowboys.
Nope.
It's not Washington, is it?
No.
The Bears.
No.
The Packers.
Yep, number 4, the Packers.
Okay.
So these guys.
I kept going back to that well.
They're hiding. They're holding out hope. So number 5 then.
Seahawks.
No. you sure as hell believe in the Seahawks a lot more than this motherfucker. Whoever or this is Fox betting. By the way, this is coming from Fox betting odds. So
okay. Okay. Number 5. So the Saints. Even though I don't trust them with Jameis Winston.
No.
That's the thing. Like the NFC North. Well, let's see. We got the Packers, Vikings, Bears. Definitely not the Lions. The Cardinals?
No.
Is this Washington?
No.
I mean, it can't be the Panthers. No. Oh, it's the Falcons. It's the Falcons.
No.
I've ran through the Giants.
No.
The Eagles.
No. The Cowboys. You haven't said the Cowboys for this one, but it's the Cowboys.
Oh, fuck.
So the Cowboys, to me, is weird. The Cowboys are number 5.
Yeah, that is weird.
We talked about last week. Hard Knocks. They didn't even make the playoffs last year. Their quarterback's coming off Achilles injury. Worst defense in the NFL, one of them, and they're fifth best.
Hasn't gotten any better. I mean, the worst defense we've seen, and they've added a couple rookies, and that's it.
No, but that's the biggest mind blow to me. So number 6 is the Seahawks. I'm gonna save you the pain of having to guess here, but number 7.
Why, you should have let me guess that one, so I could have got one right.
No, I wanted to take away your one moment of potential glory. Number 7.
Washington.
No, you said that already, so no. This would be a surprise to hear. They're not in the top 10. I'll tell you that right now.
Really? Okay, that is surprising. So is this the Vikings?
No.
The Saints.
Saints. Yep. Number 7.
Okay.
So number 8.
8. There better not be any more NFC East teams ahead of us.
There's not.
Okay, good. So then, is this the Falcons?
No.
Vikings.
Wow. No. The Vikings are on there. They're number 10. So I'll tell you. So there's 2 teams left, 8 and 9.
Who am I forgetting? Is this the Cardinals?
8 is the Cardinals. Yep.
Yeah.
And number 9, the surprise to me again that they're ahead of us, but they did reasonably well last year. We must forget, but
the Panthers?
Nope.
Falcons?
Nope.
Who the fuck am I forgetting?
You definitely think the Falcons are better than us.
Well, I'm just trying to think of who they could possibly put ahead of us.
Hype. It's all hype. Probably hype right now because of the hype.
The hype. Let's see. We've already said the Cardinals, Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers.
Yeah.
Shit. I don't.
The Bears.
Yeah. No NFC East teams. Oh. With who? With Justin Fields?
That's what I'm saying. It's the hype. Got to be the hype. But
there's no way. So okay. So run down. So 10 is the Vikings. Yeah. 9 is the Bears.
8 is the Cardinals. 7 is the Saints. 6 is the Seahawks. 5 is the Cowboys. 4 is
we should be 7. We should be 7. We should be ahead of the Saints. We should be ahead of the Bears. We should be ahead of the Vikings.
So you put the Cowboys ahead of us?
Because if everything goes right, yeah.
If everything goes right for whatever team they're gonna be, I don't think anybody has a terrible plan. Maybe I don't know. The Broncos have a kind of terrible plan right now, but I don't.
Yeah, their terrible plan was drafting Drew Lock.
Oh well, yeah. Ouch. But yeah. So I don't know. I definitely it just my whole point is that we're not on this motherfucker. We're not on this list. And why? We won the division last year. How are we not one of the top? There's only 16 teams, so we're part of it.
And we've gotten better.
There was another point that I like that came across too. Again, I thought that this would be the last point, but I was talking about if Ron Rivera takes us and beats us, wins us the Super Bowl, beats us some people up, wins us the Super Bowl, is he the best coach in NFL in Washington football history?
No, I think you still got to give it to Joe Gibbs.
Oh yeah, 3. I'm going to 4.
Yeah.
And came back and brought a team from obscurity into an exciting team immediately. So I mean, it's just.
Yeah, no, Joe Gibbs still be the best coach ever, and then probably Jim Zorn, and then Rivera.
He was lying about Jim Zorn.
yeah.
Obviously, I like Jim Zorn because he was always. I think that he was just a victim of, being like a gap filling coach. You know what I mean? It was like
well, he was hired as the offensive coordinator, and then they were like, "Oh shit, we can't find a head coach. Hey, what do you think?" He's like, "Well, okay."
It's like oh, you just want to be my. I guess you can be. You want to be the manager? Yeah, you can be the boss. You can own the company. Want to own the team as well? But
yeah.
It's funny. It's Jim Zorn, but he definitely. I think that if we had a better quarterback than Jason Campbell at the time, that team was a good team. That was we almost won. We won the playoffs. The top. We beat the Super Bowl champions that year. The Giants. That was them. We're on that stream, beating the Super Bowl champions every year for like 5 or 6 years in a row during the season. Yeah. But Todd Collins, I remember, came in and rescued that season for us. But
hell yeah.
If we had anybody but Jason Campbell that year, I think Jim Zorn, and he got a bad rap because after that we got Shanahan and no, after that who did we get? We had Zorn for we had Shanahan right after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right after that we had Shanahan. And, yeah, so Jim Zorn got a bum rap. An old little southpaw quarterback. I remember him throwing to Steve Largent back in the when I first started watching
Seahawks
football.
days.
Yeah. But, yep, that's all I got, man. But we definitely, filled some 45 minutes. We definitely talked for some while. So thank you, JP Finley, for continuing to supply us with content as we get closer and closer. And again, in the whole NFL, there's not a lot of stories going on right now. I mean, it's just speculation. They've gone to every other week. But I figured out the pattern of that Good Morning Football. They've gone to every other week now of having shows. And when they do have shows, it's like, what's Aaron Rodgers going to do? And then no. And, how's Jimmy Garoppolo going to handle Trey Lance coming in? What's going to be their plan? So,
yeah.
That was a weird noise. Did you hear that?
Yeah, that was you. I think you got an email or something.
Oh, really? I just got a brand new iPhone, so I don't understand a lot of the things it does. But it does.
Yeah. Which one did you get?
The iPhone 12i, the biggest one, Max, Pro Max.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's giant, and it's
it's massive.
Heavy as heck.
I was getting all these notifications that somebody was signing into the Twitter, and so I was like, I figured it was you, getting a new phone or whatever.
But it was a very painful process to go through. It took like 4 days to actually just buy a phone, which was the weirdest thing ever. And I won't paint with the story, but it took multiple visits. And the funny thing is, I just bought one the day before for my lady, and I liked it. I was like, you know what? I need to get a new phone too. I'm gonna get one. And then I was like, I just bought one yesterday. Now all of a sudden, all these speed bumps are coming up. That's probably what it is. I don't know what's going on, but anyway, I got the phone. They expedited it to me for all the speed bumps. So
lit.
Yeah, but that's all I got, man. We're in July. We're getting closer.
We're almost there. We are almost there. I guess we can open up to any questions if we have any. We got any guys in here?
We have some viewers. I don't know, but no one's saying. Guys, let us know any questions. Anything you want to talk about? Washington football team related, football related. Throw it out there. It was awesome. I watched. I'm actually going this week to a wrestling AEW here in Austin, and they started having they had their first fan show on the road this last Wednesday. And so it's excited to see fans, just like regular sporting events, you know what I mean? Fans all up in the face, no social distancing, just all up in your face. And I can't wait to do that Washington experience and hug sweaty random people and COVID be damned.
AEW, they're doing some big things. I'm not super familiar with them. I do know that the owner of the Jaguars, his son is the one that runs the show there, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, and then they like I said, they continued wrestling the entire time. They ran it out of Daly Place, which is within Jaguar Stadium, like the corner, a little form off to the side. And they've had two matches within, the stadium itself. They call them Stadium Stampede, where they put a match right in the middle of the field, and the guys like run around, and the guy jumped on one of those, the injury carts and like ran down somebody on the injury cart. And they even had this is how I didn't know this, but what's his name? The coach, Urban Meyer. They had a scene where they ran, they were fighting in the locker room. Urban Meyer's in there, like looking up, like playing, like, "Oh, what are you guys doing in here?" And Charlie Strom, I didn't know he worked there. And
he's on their staff. Yeah,
he was in there like, oh, I was like, Charlie Strom, and it was like during a pay-per-view. They both made cameos there as they were fighting through the Jaguars locker room. So that was really cool. But I mean, Shaq went through a table. There. Shaq. I don't know if you saw that where Shaq went through a table there off the ring. It was pretty crazy. So I mean. They are doing huge things. I mean, it's a fun. It's good to have competition. Like they've always said for wrestling, it's always good to have a couple brands. So it just makes it better for the fans. But now, I mean, literally, if you're a wrestling fan, you can watch wrestling every day of the week. There's a show on every day of the week now, which is insane.
Why is Raw getting such a bad rap? I mean, I know we're completely out of football now, but I've heard Raw getting a bad rap of how bad it is.
It's you know what it is. It's such a weird thing. It's because you have everyone, like we're critics. Or I shouldn't say critics. We're supporters and critics of our team. We discuss decisions. And when it comes to decisions like that, it's one person. Vince McMahon runs everything when it comes to Raw. Everything goes by him. But but as fans, we think that he's making it for us, and that in reality, we become secondary to what the show is made for. The show now is made for sponsors. 60 to 70% of revenue when it comes to wrestling as sponsors, you know, and you said that's the ticket sales is below everything. Is the sponsor is that time that they pay you. And if they have one person that disagrees with what you're doing, what kind of product you're putting out there, you know, what kind of, you know, touchy subject you're touching on or whatever, then they pull, you know, first of all, they're going to hit their advertising agency guy up, and then who knows how many, you know, agencies that guy represents. When the agency stops working with you, they lose that sponsorship money. And so now they're a publicly traded company, you know, they're all towards their stockholders and to their sponsors, you know, so so it's one of those things that it's micro-produced at a level that, you know, it's not for a casual wrestling fan.
Not for the consumer, really.
Not for the consumer. It's like it's not football. It's not football. It's like when we talk about. I think a good comparison is when we talked about that show last week. What was it? The Cowboys is going on.
Hard Knocks.
Hard Knocks. You know what I mean? It gets very, very. We love football, but it's a very, very overproduced cinematic version of football when you watch that show. And if you're a wrestling fan, obviously it already is an overproduced cinematic thing, as we know. So if you put even more of it on top of it, you, in a sense, insult the intelligence of your fans. So that's where that comes from. For a long answer.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It makes sense. Like, yeah, it makes sense. I just didn't know. Like I said, because I haven't watched wrestling in a while, and I just everything I've heard is like. There's always like people will be talking about it, and then they'll like take a parting shot at how bad Raw is. So that's why I was just curious.
Oh yeah, AEW. If you watch wrestling, 2 hours every Wednesday, it's a fun show. I mean, it's there's so many people and they only have 2 hours, so it's like they jam it in there. It's nonstop. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
but
right on.
That's all I got, man.
Yeah, no, that'll do it for us here. Always, of course, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube. If you are not watching us here currently, ring that notification bell. So as soon as we go live, as soon as we drop a video, you are notified. You can tune in. You can watch live with us, ask any questions you'd like, and anything like that. Make sure you check us out anywhere you can find your podcasts: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can also find us on SoundCloud, again, all by searching Allies Behind Enemy Lines. We're on Twitter at AlliesBEL. In our Twitter bio, we have the links for everything I just laid out for you. And then, of course, you can check us out on Facebook by searching Allies Behind Enemy Lines podcast. That'll do it for us this week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching along if you are watching us in this live telecast, whatever you want to call it, this live broadcast. Until then, we will see you guys next week. Have a great weekend. Again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.